Now, the European Central Bank, or ECB, has been led by French economist Christine Lagarde since 2019, but her term might be coming to an end before her term is officially up. Lars Holter is with DW and joins me from Berlin. Good to have you, Lars. What can you tell us about developments there?
Thanks for having me. First and foremost, they were talking about rumors. Nothing here has been confirmed, but what we're hearing sounds pretty compelling. It seems Christine Lagarde, who led the International Monetary Fund before moving to Frankfurt to become president of the European Central Bank, she might leave that position soon, even though her term would still go until October of next year. And the reason would be found in the upcoming presidential elections in France. And the idea is that with an early retirement, Lagarde would allow current and outgoing French President Macron to still play a role in nominating and voting for her successor, together with German Chancellor Friedrich Merz and other European leaders. Now, why would that be important? Because looking at these French presidential elections scheduled for April, the right-wing Rassemblement National is leading in the polls, so we might see France turning more right-wing too, after some European countries have seen the same shift already. And Lagarde would apparently leave her position early to ensure that a moderate candidate has a better chance of getting elected to lead the ECB rather than an ideologically picked right-wing candidate. By the way, the president of the French Central Bank has also announced his early retirement, and for the very same reason, to make sure his successor would still be picked by Macron and not by a potentially right-wing successor.
Also, Lars, what can you tell us about Christine Lagarde's time at the European Central Bank?
Well, generally that it was a tough time, but that Christine Lagarde got the Eurozone through rough waters and stayed a somewhat solid course. Lagarde has been president of the ECB since November 2019, and this period has been marked by massive crises. First, of course, there was the pandemic starting right after she got in, and then we saw Russia's attack on Ukraine. And then most recently, and of course still going on, we saw geopolitical tensions that have put the Eurozone under pressure. Now here we're talking about the United States, of course, and even a more aggressive rivalry between the euro and the dollar. With all these troubles, inflation in the US temporarily rose to over 10% in 2022. It's eased to 1.7% by now, and that alone shows that Lagarde has been a pretty good guardian at the Fed.
Also, Lars, who would likely follow Lagarde at the ECB? Are there any candidates out yet?
Not officially, but there are some names we've been hearing. Among them is the former Spanish central bank chief Pablo Hernández de Cos, as well as the Dutch central bank president Klaas Knot. But there are also two candidates from Germany. Again, the leader of the Bundesbank, our national central bank here, Joachim Nagel, as well as Isabel Schnabel, who is the current German delegate to the European Central Bank and who has lots of experience working not only with Christine Lagarde, but actually working the very same turf she would eventually be taking over. However, when it comes to those German candidates, we have to keep in mind that the president of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, is also German, and there are doubts that the two most powerful and most influential positions in the EU could be held by people from the same country. So despite their obvious qualifications, not everyone is convinced that a German could get elected. However, as we're getting closer to any decision there, we will see who will even be officially in the running.